Beyond recounting tales of faith, the Bible unveils hidden aspects of conflicts spanning centuries. Each story guides us to fateful events and figures that leave an indelible mark on history. Where does the deep divide between Jews and Arabs originate? What forgotten truths still subtly influence today's society? Perhaps the biblical narratives hold the key to unlocking the resolution of modern conflicts. Prepare for an exciting journey to explore the historical connections, decisions, and choices that shaped war and peace, formed from ancient promises. Don't forget to hit like, share this video with your close friends, and subscribe to the channel to give me more strength to create more new videos. In a miraculous moment amidst the desolate desert of ancient Mesopotamia, God called Abraham, an ordinary man, and gave him a grand promise that would alter the flow of human history. In Genesis 12:2, the Lord says, "I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing to all people." This promise is not just a holy commitment, but also an eternal covenant, passing through generations, bringing not just descendants, but a promise that never fades. Imagine Abraham, a man steadfast in faith, living in a time where lineage was regarded as the ultimate symbol of honor. Though aged, he and Sarah bore the agony of childlessness, a silent shadow haunting their lives. God's promise gave them a burning hope that a mighty nation would emerge from them, even in their later years. As years passed without an answer, Sarah's pain became a wound that deepened with time, cutting into their hearts. Ultimately, Sarah turned to traditional customs, opting for her servant to bear a child in her stead to preserve the family line. One evening, as the fading sunlight marked the end of the day, Sarah, in a moment of firm resolve yet inner hesitation, proposed to Abraham, "The Lord has closed my womb. Sleep with my servant, and perhaps I can build a family through her." This was a choice born of despair, but it also reflected a reality in their society. Children held great importance for honor and status. Reproduction in the nomadic society was not only a basic need, but also a condition for the tribe's survival, and using a servant to bear a child was not uncommon. Hagar, the Egyptian servant, was the most fitting choice for this role, and despite her worries, Sarah decided to push forward with the plan in hopes of fulfilling the promise. With deep love for Sarah, Abraham accepted the proposal, not out of a desire to change the situation, but because of his love and respect for his wife. Sarah, who once believed this would be the solution to her suffering, now felt threatened. Hagar's presence, once her servant, had turned into an unavoidable reminder of Sarah's inability to conceive. The relationship between Sarah and Hagar soon became strained and competitive, as Hagar began to look at Sarah with contempt and arrogance. Sarah, in her pain and jealousy, was caught up in feelings of insecurity and humiliation. This tense scene not only illustrates the complexity of the relationships between the characters, but also shows how human interference in divine plans, even with good intentions, can lead to inevitable division and misunderstanding. In a moment of desperation and anger, Sarah began mistreating Hagar, who endured oppression from both sides, from her mistress and herself. Unable to bear it any longer, Hagar chose to flee into the desert, seeking escape from the overwhelming pressure and pain. This act of fleeing was not only a physical separation, but also a deep inner struggle between her role as a mother and the suffering she endured. She was no longer just a servant. She had become a resilient woman, a mother facing countless challenges. The desert, a place dry, cold, and desolate, became a sacred space for Hagar. Here, she found freedom in solitude, but also faced indescribable pain that forced her to confront the possibility of losing everything, including her life and her son. But in that moment of despair, God did not leave her alone. An angel of the Lord appeared, bringing a message of hope. "Hagar, do not be afraid, for God has heard the cry of you where you are. Genesis 21:17. The angel's call was not just comfort, but a confirmation that God always listens and cares for his children, even in the most difficult situations. With the encouragement from the angel, Hagar not only found comfort, but also was guided toward a brighter future. The desert, once a place of isolation, became a sacred space where God came near and gave her hope. When she returned to Abraham's household, though there was tension, Hagar carried with her a firm faith in God's promise for a bright future. She was pregnant with Ishmael, a clear sign that God had heard her pain and would fulfill his word. However, Hagar's life did not become easier. The presence of Ishmael in Abraham's household sparked jealousy from Sarah, who had previously suggested Abraham take Hagar as a secondary wife. The tension between the two women escalated, and new challenges soon emerged. The rivalry between Ishmael and Isaac, Abraham's sons, created an environment filled with conflict. In Genesis 21:9 through 10, Sarah demands that Abraham expel Hagar and Ishmael, saying, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." This expulsion was not just a family decision, but reflected the difficult realities within Abraham's family relationships. When Hagar and Ishmael were cast out of the family, they faced not only material deprivation, but also an overwhelming sense of loneliness. They wandered through the desert, thirsty and struggling for survival, yet, in their darkest moment, God again showed his compassion and care. The angel of God led Hagar to a well, a miraculous act that showed that even in the most desperate of circumstances, God's presence is ever constant, and he will never abandon his children. As written in Genesis 21:19, "Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink." This is a clear sign of divine love and providence. Through each stage of growth, Ishmael gradually became a model of resilience, not only physically, but also mentally. The hardships of desert life taught him that existence is not just about survival, but about understanding the value of patience and faith. Every day spent in the desert was a valuable lesson for Ishmael. The harsh conditions not only made him stronger, but also helped him discover his purpose in life, particularly in his relationship with God. Hagar was not just a mother, but also Ishmael's first teacher in the strength of the inner spirit. Through her care and guidance, Ishmael learned how to overcome adversity and strengthen himself to become a man ready to face any challenge. Ishmael's life in the desert was a blend of harshness and beauty, of suffering and hope. Every difficulty, whether small or great, helped him realize that life always holds hidden wonders, as long as one is patient and trusts in God's guidance. In all circumstances, Ishmael learned that life is not just about grand victories, but about the ability to overcome each challenge, each failure, and find peace in the struggle. Ishmael's life was deeply shaped by resilience and courage, traits essential for surviving and thriving in the harsh desert environment. With remarkable archery skills, Ishmael became a master archer, safeguarding and providing for both himself and his mother. Genesis 21:20-21 captures Ishmael's growth. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. This passage not only acknowledges Ishmael's exceptional hunting abilities, but also highlights the continuous presence of God in his life. It was God's protection that enabled Ishmael to overcome the challenges of his youth. As Ishmael reached adulthood, Hagar's concern shifted from his immediate survival in the desert to his future. The isolation of the desert made Hagar realize that Ishmael needed a companion, someone to share his life with, and continue the family legacy. Hagar, understanding the critical role of marriage in preserving family bonds and tribal security, decided to seek an Egyptian wife for Ishmael. This decision held personal significance and was firmly rooted in cultural and historical traditions. Hagar, originally from Egypt, selected a woman from her homeland for Ishmael, aiming to strengthen the connection between Ishmael's lineage and Abraham's family, while fostering an exchange between Egyptian and Arab cultures. Ishmael's marriage to his wives is a powerful continuation of God's promise, with his descendants becoming mighty tribes stretching from the Middle East to distant lands. This relationship not only expresses familial bonds, but also symbolizes steadfastness and cultural connectivity, as well as the fulfillment of God's eternal promise. Ishmael lived a life that proved God's promises are never dimmed by trials, and that every action he took held a profound meaning in continuing the great heritage of his ancestors. The Ishmaelites inherited from his children will not only protect and develop Arab cultural values, but also form an extensive network connecting tribes across generations. The story of Ishmael and his descendants is a strong reflection of upholding God's sacred promises and a testament to his continuous presence throughout every stage of life and history of his people. The bond between Ishmael and Isaac, although marked by clear differences, carries a profound message of reconciliation and unity. A pivotal moment is recorded in Genesis 25:9, where the two brothers come together to bury their father Abraham in the cave of Machpelah. This action is not merely a child's obligation, but a powerful symbol of overcoming the conflicts and disputes that have persisted throughout their childhood. Despite their clear differences, this moment highlights their mutual recognition of their shared heritage, emphasizing that family bonds, even when tested by conflicts, remain strong and enduring. Throughout the biblical narrative, family relationships have always played a central role, from the promises made to Abraham to the stories of his children and grandchildren. The relationship between Ishmael and Isaac reflects that, despite division and rivalry, moments of reconciliation can emerge, showcasing God's intervention and guidance in family ties. The event of Ishmael and Isaac burying their father together was not just a personal act, but also a powerful witness to the reconciliation between the two lineages, setting the stage for the growth of the nations they would represent. The development of Ishmael's descendants and his tribes proves that the interaction between the Ishmaelites and Israelites has lasted for centuries, influencing many areas of society, culture, and politics in the Middle East. Although a secondary son, Ishmael was promised by God to be the father of a great nation, reflecting God's recognition of him and the glory of the Arab lineage he represents. Ishmael plays a significant role in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions. In Judaism, he is the son of Hagar, and in Islam, he is a prophet and principal heir, highlighting the religious and cultural diversity stemming from Abraham's lineage. The relationship between Jews and Arabs, particularly through events like the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, has become a flashpoint for tensions over power, land, and identity. These conflicts not only reflect the biblical division between Isaac and Ishmael, but also highlight the complexity of human nature and the free will that God has given us. These tensions were never part of God's original plan, but are a consequence of human choices. Nevertheless, the Bible underscores God's call for love, peace, and reconciliation. God's promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael, along with Jesus' command in Matthew 5:44, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you," set forth an ideal of peace that we must aspire to. This call is not only a reminder to love and forgive, but also a guide for us in a divided world. Peace, as highlighted in Romans 12:18, is a collective responsibility for all. if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. This verse emphasizes that peace is not only a goal, but an action each individual must carry out. As we look ahead, despite ongoing conflicts, God's plan of reconciliation and unity will ultimately be realized. Revelation 7:9 reveals a stunning vision of worshipful unity, where all nations and peoples stand before God in glory. This image reminds us that in the end, we will be united in love and peace under God's reign, when all divisions in this world will be healed. I hope we can find faith and inspiration from these sacred truths to become those who carry light in a world that is in desperate need of healing and reconciliation. Through prayer, understanding, and acts of love, each of us can help fulfill God's holy plan, bringing nations together to worship the Creator. If you found this video and these reflections helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and follow the upcoming videos that will appear on your screen. The sermons and biblical insights will continue to inspire you on your journey of faith. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Wishing you health, and may God always bless you.